I've always had a little bit of an issue with the fact that a lot of people, including some of my teachers at the Art Academy, assume that in order to create good art, one must have experienced some sort of trauma or depression. The myth of the tortured artist, right? Like pain and trauma is a prerequisite and a good thing. Because if you haven't been or felt hurt, you haven't really experienced something to draw inspiration from. The tortured artist is being elevated, and therefore trauma, pain, depression is being elevated. That's how I see it. It's glorified, leaving some young people, or people in general, actively searching for pain, just to give them a sense of worthiness, or give their art more meaning. How twisted is that? Also, as if amazing art ceases to exist when we are no longer traumatized or depressed. How depressing. I get where the assumption stems from. I'm very well aware of the amazing art that is created from artists that turn their shit into glitter, that work through their pain, through their work, or that they confront us with their horror that they've experienced through their art to make us more aware. And so I celebrate art for that. It's one of the reasons I think art and creating is essential, because it's healing and it's powerful as a medium. However, that doesn't mean the consensus should be good art can only come from a, to some extent, tortured soul. First of all, for me, the definition of good art is when you have touched the heart of even just one person experiencing your art. That's it. And the prerequisite for creating good art is consciousness. Period. Being a living human most of the time means you have a consciousness, right? So that means you're able to pick up thoughts, feelings, and emotions. You have awarenesses that you can translate into feelings that you can translate into art. In that sense, you can say one can feel intensely and deeply, not because they have experienced deep pain in this life necessarily, but because they are able to attune to that depth for the simple fact that they are sentient, conscious, aware beings, humans. What matters is how open you are to receiving. How aware are you letting yourself be? How attuned, how emotionally fluid, how moved are you letting yourself become? And this is trainable, by the way. And then, and I think this is very important, for it is what separates the tortured artists from the artist who is able to feel deeply. The key is to not identify with those feelings you're aware of, but to see them as channeled information, which is wonderful because this way you can stop making it about you. It's not you doing the inspiration, it's you being aware of it, picking up the information that gives you inspiration, and letting yourself be the medium to create the art. So many artists and spiritualists and philosophers have spoken about this throughout the ages. You are not your feelings and emotions. You are just aware of them. And you create with them, through you. So let them go when it's no longer a contribution. Unless you want to be tortured. I come to think of it now, actually, how many artists have we labeled as tortured when in fact they were just really good mediums of all of the fields? And how many self-proclaimed tortured artists are just really deep feelers and high-aware beings? Are we doing the artists a service when we label them tortured? How honoring is that? And how is glorifying trauma and depression in that sense contributing to and serving any of us? I personally find great joy to see myself as just a channel through which art is created. it takes a shitload of pressure off me. And I wish someone had told me this when I was studying at Art Academy. It's actually funny how much I tortured myself back then as a student, and it just got me more stuck and unable to create. It was always during vacation where my creativity started to flow again, when the pressure of creating good art was absent. Isn't it truly funny? So funny how the place where I thought I was going to do wonderful things in terms of creating was the place where I felt most blocked, most limited, and so incapable, and I felt so out of place and not worthy of even taking up the time of the teachers there. I didn't feel like an artist at all. Isn't it funny? So, happy channeling and creating, everyone.